This week I tackled the insane amount of embroidery on the front of the vest. I suspect this was all done by hand or was done when the fabric was created. I couldn't find any fabric that looked like it, so I realized I was going to have to make this myself. I decided that the easiest way to make the embroidery would be to trace the pattern from one clear shot of the vest that I could find in Illustrator. I then uploaded that design to my embroidery digitization program, which turns it into a file that my sewing machine can read. The downside to all of this is that the embroidery hoop for my sewing machine only fits a 4x4 inch design, so I already knew I was going to have to piece the sections together to make the whole front of the vest. I decided to run a test section of the embroidery pattern just to make sure it was what I wanted before I embroidered the entire front of the vest. While waiting for the test section to finish, I cut out and fused the interfacing to the parts of the vest that needed to be embroidered. I ended up not being entirely happy with how the test section finished, so I went back to the digitization program and changed the way the machine would fill in the sections. I then had to wait again for the test sections to finish, so I basted the front panels down to some more scrap fabric I had to make it easier for the embroidery hoop to hold on to the front panels. I tried marking out where the hoop would sit with chalk, but I found that really wasn't that useful. I didn't have patience to wait for the second test embroidery to finish. I stopped the machine once I thought I had enough to compare. I honestly don't like how either turned out, but I decided to go with the first one. Each embroidery section consists of over 10,000 stitches that take 27 minutes to complete. There's roughly 15 4x4 sections to each side, meaning the front panels took 13.5 hours to embroider. But I still wasn't happy with the result, so I went back and did more sections along the edges to make sure that there were no gaps. Each smaller section has roughly 5,000 stitches, which took 13 minutes for a total of an additional 3.5 hours of embroidery time. Unfortunately, this week I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. For one, as I mentioned in the last video, I ran out of fabric and I'm waiting for that to come in before I can make the undershirt and pants. Second, I ran out of embroidery thread and had to wait for that to come in. This is how the embroidery turned out. I don't totally hate it, but I'm also not that happy with it. Fingers crossed that I will have the vest finished next week and I will be able to move on to other parts of the costume. The actual vest has more depth to the embroidery. I may decide to add a thicker thread on top of the design later, but for now, I didn't think it was a good use of my time.